glad to start again with just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alyssa Mayer, a member of the Federation Endowment Committee, and I'm really delighted to welcome you as we celebrate Independence Day, Israeli style. Before we launch into our cooking, I'd like to share a few words about Federation. I began my Federation involvement more than 25 plus years ago when I first led a UJA campaign on my college campus, and I went on my first mission to Israel. Seeing the impact of the work that we do through the funds that we raise was life-changing for me and has ensured that I have maintained my involvement in supporting Federation and ensuring that we can continue to provide this really necessary work. During these unprecedented times, our support for Federation has never been more critical, as Federation assesses the needs in the community, allocates resources to ensure that those needs are met. 2 weeks ago, PTAC's Kosher Delicatessen had 50 frozen meals that were unused from a wedding that was canceled due to the pandemic. They called Federation, and we knew exactly where that donation should go. We connected them with JAD, a residential home for Jewish adults with developmental disabilities, and the residents were thrilled with their special Shabbat meal. Federation has the resources, the access, and the ability to make these types of connections that ensure the strength of our community. Federation's Endowment Foundation has committed $350,000 to help address the growing needs in our community. Numerous distributions by donors like you from their Federation Donor Advised Funds have also provided critical assistance at this time. Needs will undoubtedly continue to grow in the coming months, and Federation will continue its vital work. If you have already made your donation to Federation, thank you so much. If you haven't yet, I hope you'll consider doing so today. And if you're interested in learning about Federation's endowment or donor advised fund, please let us know. We'd be happy to speak with you.
Could I just
And
say
now,
something? I just want to say one thing. I enjoyed your music at the beginning of for the American Independence Day, but I think you should know that today is Canada Day also. So it's like the Canadian.
well, thank you. Good to know. And so we celebrate independence in lots of different ways. So thank you for sharing. I'm now thrilled to be able to introduce Shawna Goodman Sone, our chef for today. Shawna graduated from the Natural Gourmet Cooking School and the Institute of Culinary Education and trained at the Cordon Bleu in Paris. For the past 26 years, she's taught, catered, cooked in New York, Philadelphia, Toronto, Montreal, and Israel, where she now lives. In addition to her cooking, Shawna is the co-chair of the Next Generation of Jewish Funders Network and is focusing her personal efforts to bring Jewish overnight camping to Israel. On a personal note, Shawna, I will tell you that your sister Debbie Davis introduced me to your culinary masterpiece many years ago when she brought to us at the Solomon Schechter Day School of Bergen County this book, a fundraiser for the for the hospital in Montreal, and it is a mainstay of my kitchen, having made so many of the recipes. So I know personally and can attest to what a tremendous time we're going to have learning from you. So thank you so much. A few logistical notes before we get started. Shawna will be happy to answer questions throughout the demonstration. So just use the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen, put in your questions, and I will feed them to Shawna as she's cooking. So please just go ahead and enter in your questions. Since many of us are going to be cooking along with Shawna, you are welcome to keep your video feature on and we can connect through our shared cooking experience. If you prefer to turn your video off, that's fine as well. We are going to keep everyone on mute through the program because there's so many participants and we want to make sure that we don't have any distracting background noise. So we'll keep you on mute, but I'll be forwarding your questions. And with that, Shawna, I'm so pleased to hand it off to you.
Well, thank you so much. It's so fantastic to be here with everybody. And I know there was a comment about Canada Day, so a salute out to all the Canadians out there. Happy Independence Day to you too. You know, I feel really quite emotional about connecting with everybody today. I'm here in Ra'anana, Israel. As you can tell from my accent, I'm not Israeli. I am Canadian. I'm from Montreal. I'm very proud of our Montreal Jewish community. I know there's so many Montreal Lions online today. And we moved here 5 years ago with an itch to get into the story and to be here. And we came on the one-year program with 14 hockey bags and 3 sons and a very happy husband. And 5 years later, I'm in Ra'anana. I can't believe it. It's a beautiful life. I am still, you know, feel incredibly connected and indebted to my Montreal Jewish community and also my New Jersey community. My sister Debbie was living in Tenafly, and one of my first jobs was at the JCC on the Palisades and teaching cooking there. And it was a very wonderful, positive experience and really instilled with me a love of community, a love of connecting, and really participating. So very easy to access and really to get involved. So that's what today is about. Today is about connecting. Despite the isolation, despite everybody being in little boxes like the Brady Bunch, we are deeply connected here. And I think now more than ever, I wear my pin with such pride, and it sort of connects me to my mother, my late mother, who was a huge advocate of being a Lion of Judah and endowing our lions for exactly the times that we're living in now, of insecurity, of not knowing what's coming next and not taking our Jewish community for granted. And I feel just this beautiful connection to all of you online. I know it's still virtual, but I really believe that energy passes. And what we're all showing up for. We're showing up because we're women. We're showing up because our Jewish community matters to us, and our grandchildren, God willing, For many of those grandmothers online, I'm not there yet. I have 3 sons, anyone out there? But really, I feel we're part of this link, and we are living in the craziest of times that no one could have ever possibly have imagined. But now more than ever, we're stronger, we're connected, and we're women. And I went to Miami last year for my first Line of Judah conference, where I picked up my water bottle, which I love so much, my product placement here. And I was blown away. I was blown away with the strength of women. I was so inspired. I left, first of all, I was with a huge Israeli delegation, so that you should know that there's a strong Lions group here in Israel. But just this force of good, this force of power, and this force with such grace and humility, but we can do quite a bit. And this is our time. And so I'm here today to nourish you, because you continue to nourish your communities, you nourish the people around you, your families, your children, your husbands, your organizations. And this is a little bit of some Israel into your lives. I know we can't travel, and believe me, I would love for the skies to be open, but this place doesn't work without you. Israel is meant to have our whole people here, everybody. And being a diaspora, struggling on the line of, am I Israeli, am I diaspora? I'm smack in the middle, and I'm all about the glue and connecting us, because we have a lot of work to do together. We need to talk, we need to engage, we need to socialize, we need to cook. So today's menu, I hope, brings a little bit of Israeli flavor to your barbecues that you're socially distancing in, and wearing your mask and washing your hands. And but this is a mask-free zone for an hour. You can relax, enjoy. I know that music made me stand a little taller. I was so proud. And to really just be with us for an hour, to just have a little staycation. Imagine your last trip to Israel. I know many of you online were with me in February for the Heart to Heart mission. And again, the energy and the dancing, forget the shakshuka. It was the horror that was happening, and everybody was like high on Zatar, no joke. Like, it was like something that, we need. It nourishes us and it connects us, and that's what I love being a part of this organization. I love the intention, I love the togetherness, and I love that it's real work. And it's content rich, and it's also based on our values. If I can leave with something just as we kick off our cooking, my mother said to us, and my sister Debbie, who many of you know, that it was very important to her to leave us her values and not just her valuables. And being a Lion of Judah is one of the strongest values I stand for. It's something I fiercely believe, as they say in my kishkas, that we are nurturers, we're givers, and this is the time, join, and I said, if you all lift your hands and go side to side, you're connected. We are one, and we can have the ability to do so much together. So now we're going to start cooking. And for those who are cooking with me, I hope that you have all your ingredients, number one, because you can't really knock on the neighbor's door these days, so the social distancing. So we're going to be starting with making the cocoa tahini cookies. And many of you, if you need the recipes, I know they'll be available to you, because they're available to everybody. And they're just my ideas of what I see an Israeli-inspired Independence Day barbecue or meal. But they're yours to keep. Share them. The highest compliment is when someone asks you for the recipe, and I promise you they're complete. Nothing has been left out. So I'm setting you up for success. And but listen, everybody has the sensitivities, gluten-free, vegan, dairy issues, all sorts of things. So ask me your questions. Elise is going to be asking the questions, so put them in the chat box, and I hope to cover them all. The class is live. There's anybody's hiding in any corners except for my 3 boys who are strapped in their rooms right now. So things happen, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you guys today. So the first recipe we're going to be starting off with is the cocoa tahini cookies. And the cocoa tahini cookies are wonderful because they're not only gluten-free, but they're vegan. So if you're none of the above, bonus. It's very healthy. It's a great recipe. And the intention of it is because I want to introduce you to a main staple in Israel, tahini, okay? Tahini is like the most common ingredient that you'll find in so many different recipes here. And the beauty of it is it's flexible, like us women. So it can go savory or it can go sweet, depending on how you want to use it. So I'm going to show you how to do it sweet first, and then we're going to go on to savory. So tahini is actually made from sesame seeds. Sesame seeds that are not from Israel, they're from Ethiopia, that are roasted and grinded. So yes, they're full of fat, but they're full of great fat. They make your hair shiny, full of calcium, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, flavorful punch to add to so many different recipes. So we're going to be adding it into a cookie. So I'm sure you've seen peanut butter cookies. The same idea. You're going to be using the tahini in replacement of peanut butter. So it's adding fat, but it's also adding nourishment, and it's adding fantastic flavor to it. So that's the one main ingredients I wanted to show you. I also wanted to discuss about, if you're a vegan out there, no eggs for you, right? But you have to find ways, because eggs are important in baking. I started off as a pastry chef, so I had to learn how to be very meticulous. It's not my personality. I had to throw out things and measure and measure. And it was a real practice for me. But you have to really understand how to substitute things. So your baking actually works, because it's not as forgiving as cooking. Cooking is a lot more forgiving. Baking, not so much. So I'm going to give you a little clue on how to replace this one egg. You just want to use a tablespoon of some ground flaxseed. And flaxseed comes in little, looks like little sticks. You want to grind it. I grind it in my coffee grinder. Make sure that you cleaned your coffee grinder, or else it'll have a little coffee flavor, which wouldn't be so bad either. And when you have ground flaxseed, you always want to make sure you refrigerate it, because anything ground shows more surface area, so it's going to go rancid faster. So don't grind up a ton. You don't need to buy this at Costco in big bags. You can do it little by little. I do about, a cup at a time. And I keep it in my fridge or my freezer, and I use it as I go along. It's wonderful to sprinkle in muffins and cakes. It has no flavor, and it's adding extra fiber. So what you do is put a tablespoon of flaxseed with 3 tablespoons of water and let it sit. And then you have to make sure that you let it sit. Okay, girls? This is not something to skip. And let it sit for 15 minutes, and then you have a thick egg. And it becomes gummy. Which is what you want it to do, because again, we're mimicking an egg, which is like the glue for our cookies. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is I'm going to add my 1 flax egg. So remember, 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed to 3 tablespoons of water. Let it sit for 15 minutes. This is what it looks like. And now we're going to be adding our sugar. I'm going to be using a 1/2 cup of sugar. You can use white sugar, you can use brown sugar, you can use coconut sugar, demerara sugar, doesn't matter to me. Trying to keep it simple. We are living in crazy times. I don't know how everybody's getting their groceries, if people are out and about or still ordering them. But I think Corona has really forced us to be very mindful about what we do have in our pantry, using things up, not wasting, and stretching things as much as we can. So we're added our flaxseed egg, our sugar. I'm going to be adding our tahini. Remember, I told you it's made of this delicious sesame paste, and we're just going to be mixing that up. And remember, tahini is a fat, but it's a good fat. So that's what you have to focus on. These are good quality ingredients that are going to be going in. And we're going to be using a teaspoon of vanilla. This is the end of my Trader Joe's. So sad. I have nobody flying. The skies aren't open, so I'm not getting any Trader Joe's vanilla anymore. It's my last drop. So because I was in a panic and everybody in the world was baking like crazy, stress baking, comfort baking, I don't know what, I myself too was doing it. I started making my own vanilla because I was a little panicked. I didn't know when someone was going to come again. This is not to say that there's no vanilla here in Israel. There's tons of vanilla here in Israel. Everything is available here in Israel. But kind of when I see my things from home, it connects me. But just to know, I made my own vanilla. It does take 6 months, and we have time. So I'm on month 2. You just basically take 6 vanilla beans, you slit them, and put 1 cup of vodka, and let it sit. And every day I give it a little shake and watch it turn a little bit browner. So this is my homemade vanilla. But I'm sharing my last teaspoon of vanilla with you girls And we're mixing this all up together. Hopefully you can see. It looks like goop. And then in another bowl, we're going to be mixing some almond flour, which is basically ground up almonds, blanched almonds. And you can buy this, you know, from in the flour section. But what I want to encourage you to do is to keep this refrigerated because, again, it's something whole and it's full of fat. You want to keep it refrigerated or in the freezer section. And then I have some cocoa powder, some dark, yummy, good cocoa powder. Don't skimp on your cocoa powder and don't skimp on your ingredients, period, because quality in, quality out. Nothing wonderful, miraculous happens if you don't start with good stuff. So I'm just going to notice I'm using a whisk for this. I'm using a whisk because I'm sure you all noticed that sometimes in cocoa it's lumpy and you want to get out those lumps. So if you don't have a sifter, which feels like a very dated thing to have, what you want to do is you know that you are sifting. Sifting means getting the lumps out. So another way of getting the lumps out is that you can also use a fine mesh strainer like this. So what we have here now is we have the half a cup of sugar, the flaxseed egg, the tahini, the vanilla. I'm also going to be adding my chocolate, which I melted my chocolate beforehand, but this isn't looking melted right now. So I'm just going to put this in the microwave for another 10 seconds, just to loosen it up a bit. But just so you know that you can burn chocolate. So don't think that the microwave is that, why isn't that working? 10 seconds, go. Okay, it's going 10 seconds. Okay, I'm just pressing my microwave. And you can burn chocolate. It happens in the microwave, it's horrible. So the best way to melt chocolate is to have a pot of boiling water and another bowl on top of the boiling water so it gradually melts and you can't burn it that way. Okay, so that's the way I usually melt my chocolate. This is, I have to just give it another boost because I did it a little bit in advance. So let me just go to the microwave, make sure it's melted, another 10 seconds. Here we go. And we're gonna add that in. We have our sifted dry ingredients along with our baking powder and baking soda. We just have baking soda, a half a teaspoon of baking soda and a half a teaspoon of salt. And what I'm going to do, let me get the chocolate out, and we're going to mix that together. So, where's my spoon? Here we go. So now my chocolate is moving, which is a good sign. Just empty my chocolate. I'm just using semi-sweet chocolate. I use chocolate chips because it's the easiest to measure. But you can also use bittersweet chocolate. You just don't want to be using unsweetened chocolate, okay? Because unsweetened chocolate has no sugar in it. So if that's the case, then you may have to up the sugar a little bit because we're counting on that sugar in this recipe. So I'm mixing. So now it looks like chocolate pudding, which is always a good start. Remember, we have really wonderful, strong ingredients in here. It smells like halava. That's what halava is sweet tahini. Here we go. So now I'm going to show you another way. Here you go. You sift it. You see how easy that is. So you don't have to do this twice. I'm just showing you two methods. I don't know what toys you have in your house, but I do know that this is a good time to go through your drawers and see what you're using and what you're not using, because I know that someone else could always use your extras that are in your drawers, and it makes you feel really good when you start just getting rid of stuff. I know that I was definitely going through that during Corona, and then I stopped and things got messy again, but that's okay. We start adjusting and making new schedules to how we're living in this interesting time. So here we go. Here's my batter. Everybody see? And you see that you don't need anything really fancy to get this going. You need a bowl and you need a spatula and you need a fine mesh strainer to sift it, but that's really it. So what I'm taking is my baking sheet with my favorite thing in the world, parchment paper that does not need to be greased. It's not wax paper. It's parchment paper or baking paper, as they call it. And in Israel, it's nice. It comes in flat sheets like this. You just fold them out. They're not on the roll. And the roll is always fighting with me. So what I'm going to do is divide the dough. And it's nice dough that you can do like probably about like a tablespoon. Whatever size you like. If you like bigger cookies, you like smaller cookies, doesn't matter to me as long as you do them consistently, because if they're not consistent, then some are going to be ready and some are not going to be ready, and that's really annoying. So when you have some of your tray that's burning, only because you weren't careful. I'm not saying that you have to weigh it, but just sort of eyeball it. Literally looks like an eyeball. Just eyeball it so that you have an idea that they're going to be baking all around the same size, same time. Does anybody have any questions out there? We doing okay? How are my cookers out there? I don't know how many people are cooking with us or not, but these recipes are for you to do. And the beauty of this is that they can all be done in advance, because nothing is worse than entertaining and being worried, you know, just being in the kitchen. You don't want to hide in the kitchen during this time. You bother to invite people over, you want to have it ready, and you want to be relaxed by the time you get there. So all my recipes are, you know, you can do in advance and leave you the freedom to actually enjoy and have a glass of wine. Okay, so
Shawna, one question out there is, can you substitute with regular flour instead of almond flour?
Yes, you can.
And any adjustments that you need to make, or?
No, exactly the same.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so I have a chocolate bar here, semi-sweet chocolate. So these are rich chocolate, you know, if you want to cut the amount of chocolate, you can do that too. I'm just basically going to put one of the squares on the piece of the top of the cookie. And I, just so you know, I made 6, I made 8, 9, 11 cookies. I should have made one more for the trunks. Here we go. Here we go. You know, here, here. So I'm just putting a block of chocolate on each one, and then this is for snacking later. Here we go. Can everybody see? And notice I spread them out because they are going to spread. Remember, there was baking soda in that. So baking soda spreads the cookies, okay? S soda spreads. Here we go. Put them in a preheated oven. It's very important that the oven is preheated because you want to make sure that it's a welcoming temperature, that everything, all your elements are working, and it's all regulated inside. So don't put the cookies in and then turn on the oven. Always, always take the time to preheat the oven. I promise you, it's the best habit to ever do. When you say, I'm gonna cook, go right to the oven first, so then nothing's more annoying than like waiting to my thing, and you're ready to eat them already. So always, always preheat your oven. So the next recipe that we're gonna go on to is we're gonna be making the grilled shawarma chicken, okay? And the shawarma chicken is interesting. Let me just clean up my space for 1 second. Have it play. Here we go. And okay, there we go. So
Shawna, I'm wondering, could you comment on like the different metals on cooking sheets and how they impact the cooking time? Because I've noticed that some things cook quicker or more likely to burn, or sometimes cook slower. Is it about the density? Is it about the material?
It's definitely the material. You know, in my parents' place, they have like a whole smorgasbord of different cookie trays, and in the summertime we're usually baking, and I put them all on different trays, and the same recipe looks different 5 different times. So you have to find your tray that works. I found mine at Costco, and believe me, I'm not getting any cut from this. I love my trays. I actually moved with my trays. And it was hard for me actually to find an oven that held my trays, because all the ovens here in Israel are tiny, like little Betty Crocker ovens. So I love my trays. So you want something heavy. I love when they have the sides to them. I don't like when they're like, it's a jelly roll pan, I think they call it. I don't like when there's no sides. I like sides. It makes me feel together. Things don't slide off. And I like when they're heavy. So TJ Maxx is always a great place to find these wonderful little finds, and really experiment. I don't like the ones that have the cushions, like the air cushion in between. I don't like those. I have one of those. I always figure everything's worth one try, and you know, I have nieces, so I give them my trays. So there you go. I hope that answers the question. So for all those who are in Israel, not in Israel, are going to come to Israel, let me bring a little shawarma to you. So shawarma is a very typical thing to eat on Ben Yehuda Street in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv, at the Shuk, all sorts of places. It's a sandwich that usually has, you know, meats, like you can have turkey, you can have lamb, and it's spiced with a delicious array of spices, a spice mixture. So it's called shawarma spice. So shawarma spice is not just one spice. It's like a curry powder. It's made up of many different spices, and every different vendor will have his version of what his shawarma spice will taste like. So I wish you could smell it. You know, I recycle all my jars because, you know, you come home with all these bags, and if you don't label them, you don't know what anything is. So my shawarma spice, you can get a little fancier on Martha Stewarty with labels. That's an activity. And so I never buy spices in tons amounts. I buy them, you know, in smaller amounts, and I keep a little bit in my jars and the rest in my freezer because yes, spices do go bad. They don't like grow things in them or anything nasty like that, but they lose their strength. And, you know, and the way to preserve it is by refrigerating them or freezing them. So I don't encourage you to run to Costco to buy one of each of all these unless you're going to make spice mixtures and give it out as party favors to all your friends at your next barbecue. So you want to move spices. You want to go to spice stores that have movement. Humidity is the worst thing for spices. It robs the flavor and takes away the strength of it. So what is in shawarma spice? And I've given the recipe to you. If you can't find it and you want to sort of rummage through your pantry to see if you can make your own version of it. Number one, what makes it yellow? Turmeric. Turmeric makes it yellow and very, very healthy. Comes from a root. Paprika. Everybody has paprika in their house. Cayenne pepper. Just a little bit. Gives it a little bit of heat. We have cumin. Cumin gives it that Middle Eastern flavor. If you love falafel, then you love cumin. A very, very strong flavor here. And ground coriander. Not as strong, but definitely prevalent. And you mix them all up together, shake it up and put it in a jar and label it, and you are ready to go. It also has a little bit of pepper in as well and some ground ginger. So that's the recipe. You can play around with it. If you hate ginger, you can omit the ginger. You are the boss. You are the ones in control. So you can decide, but it's very important that you understand what is actually going into the spice mixture. So today we're going to be making...
we have a question. Someone wants to know, and I apologize if I don't say this correctly, so I might spell it for you. They want to know what makes up Hawaj, Hawajj.
Hawaj is, I believe it's a Yemenite spice. I am not as familiar with using it. It's often in, there's one dish that I absolutely adore. When you ever go to those halal-ish places, it's, you know, in these beans that they mix with the rice. And it's full of paprika, it's full of, I would say, garlic. I would have to Google that to show what exactly it is. But again, every mom has their own Hawaj mixture. It's a fantastic spice mixture to put in soups, like especially tomato-based soups. And it's super, super flavorful. And it's you know, it's a reflection of the many cuisines that live here in Israel, like all of our lost tribes, all of our lost communities from all over. We are the melting pot here of every kind of food. So in one day you can go, even walking through the market, you can walk through, you know, the Sephardic area, you can go to the Yemenite quarter, you can be in the screaming Ashkenazi area, you can have the deli, you can have the, you know, the falafel. Like, there are so many living flavors going on here. And I think that's why Israel is so much on the food scene here, that you can't just define it in one way. There's no one spice mixture. There's multiple, and all of them come from mother's kitchens. So I think that is really, really a lovely way to also just highlight the importance of home and cooking and memories and building conversations around food. And I know with our family during this time, with my kids out of school, we've had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We've done a lot of talking, a lot of conversations. And I feel grateful, because otherwise you need to set that opportunity up, and that's what we do. And food is a wonderful conduit for conversation. And if it could also take you away to Israel with me, that's fantastic too. So Hawaj, I can get back to you more on it, but there are so many amazing Israeli cookbooks. Michael Solomonov has really put food on the map, won the James Beard Award. He's fantastic. He owns a restaurant called Zahav in Philadelphia and so many other things. And he brings trips to Israel. And so Google, I'm sure he has something in there about it. So There you go. Keep asking questions. I'm going to keep going. So I'm putting some, with chicken, I'm just using boneless, skinless chicken right now. And when I'm doing that, you want to make sure, A, that they're all around the same size also, because sometimes you get pieces like this, and sometimes you get pieces thin. Again, try to find an even spot for all of them. Like sometimes you have to pound them a little bit or slit them, whatever you need to do. Very fast cooking. This is what I'm doing today because we are on a time limit here. So I want to make sure I get everything out. But you can do this with dark meat. You can do this with on the bone. This is the easiest marinade in the whole entire world, okay? So I have boneless, skinless chicken breasts here, right here. And I'm gonna add some of my shawarma spice. And I'm gonna also be adding lots of lemon. And basically the fastest way to get the juice out of lemon, take a fork, you don't need any fancy gizmos, and look what happens. Look, can you guys see how much juice is just coming out of a half a lemon? And these come from my friend's trees, which is unbelievable to me. Totally, totally unbelievable. And yes, I do have seeds that I'm looking at, which I am just taking out now, because last time I didn't do it, my son was like, this feels really funny, Mommy. This doesn't feel like chicken. I'm like, ooh, that was a seed. Oops, there we go. So I've taken out the seeds. I have lemon. I'm using a little bit of some extra virgin olive oil. There we go. And we're going to be using some delicious garlic. And I love garlic. Remember, this is a bulb of garlic. Whoops, that just fell in. And this is a clove of garlic. And hardest thing ever is getting, people often don't like to use, peel the garlic because then it's on their hands and they don't like it. Fastest way to get the peel off the garlic, literally, I want you to see, I don't know if you can see, I'm taking my knife on a cutting board. At the end of the day, smash it. That's called bruising your garlic. And there we go, the paper just flies right off. You can also, there's these little plastic rollers, you can roll them. You could also put a bunch of garlic cloves in a jar and shake it. They all come off. And what you want to do is you want to chop the garlic because remember it's going on a grill pan and garlic burns super, super quickly. So you don't want to have too fine of pieces because then they will burn. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of some salt and some pepper. And we have our beautiful marinade. And the beautiful thing about a marinade, I'm just going to get our grill pan. The beautiful thing about a marinade is that it can be done the day before. But sometimes we don't think about the day before and we think, oh my God, I got to get dinner on the table. And I'm so happy I even have some defrosted meat. So whatever with chicken, even if you have 10 minutes, put it on for 10 minutes. Don't punish yourself that you didn't do it overnight and not do it at all because your chicken will be so just give it what you got. And I promise it will be delicious. So what I'm going to do, I'm showing you, I'm not moving around. We're doing indoor barbecuing here in Ra'anana, Israel. I'm doing my grill pan, which I lightly greased with a little bit of some olive oil and some with my silicone brush. And make sure that you're using a brush that is not your pastry brush. Okay, so you have a pastry brush and you have a barbecue brush and you have a hair brush. So none of that, nothing mixing up together. So social distancing. There we go. So I have this gas thing going, which I picked up in a market. Oh, you know what? I have to do something first. I am going to make sure I do it properly so I don't kill everybody here. Here we go. I didn't flip it over. Here we go. This is camping. I bought this actually in Nazareth, right before we went in Corona time, and went to the market there, which was so incredible. Here we go. So now we have air, and this is working perfectly. Okay. So I am totally smelling these cookies, and use your nose as a guide. You know, we have very, very good instincts. So I'm just going to take my cookies out because I am in one person deal right now. Here we go. These are our cookies are ready. Here we go. You see how fast that was? See how much they spread? So I have to cool them, right? So you always want to make sure that you cool your cookies when there's air underneath. If there's no air underneath, and you put them smack on your counter, they're gonna get soggy because all that heat is gonna condense and it's gonna be wet. You don't want wet cookies, okay? Anytime your cake comes out of the oven, cookies, find a landing spot where there's air in between. So I just put them on top of a pot. You can put them on a cooling rack, which is the right thing to be doing, but sometimes we can't find one. So the idea is never put it flat on the counter. That is rule number 1. So here we go. I have to make sure that our pan is hot because you never ever want to put your meat on the pan when it's not hot, because what you want to happen is to sear the chicken. Searing the chicken is going to trap all those yummy juices. And remember, I told you it's white meat and it dries out very quickly. White meat gets a very bad rap. So we want to make it shine today, okay? So we want to make sure our pan is super, super hot. And I'm just going to mix up our beautiful marinade here on our chicken. And if you don't have room in your fridge, Ziploc bags are really great for this because you can just smush them and you can keep moving them all around. So it's smelling really hot for me. I'm hoping that we're going to have the sound effects on so you guys can hear it sizzle. Sizzle. Do you hear that? I hope you can hear that because I can hear that. Okay, and we're going to put, there we go. And that's going to sizzle together. And I'm going to be able to show you, I don't have my overhead mirror, but I'm going to show you that they're going to start to turn white. And that's when you know, you never want to flip it when it's still sticking. You're like, why isn't it coming off? It's not coming off for a reason because it's not ready to come off. Let it have another second. And then when you can wiggle it, that's when it's ready to flip right over. Okay? So you always want to make sure that when you are cooking with chicken, you have a clear area that you know that I know we have lots of plastic gloves all around the house these days. You just want to keep your area very, very sanitary because you don't want to have any cross-contamination. So while this is going, I'm going to make the tahini. And tahini is the sauce that we're going to make. Remember, we started off with using this as something sweet. We're going to now make it with something savory because this is going to be our sauce for our chicken. So what I'm going to do is pour some of my tahini into my bowl. See how beautiful? Notice I kept shaking. Always shake it and keep it in the pantry. It does not need to be refrigerated, okay? This is what it looks like. Looks beige. And what we're going to be doing is adding some water to it. And when I add water to it, we're going to be adding some ice water into our tahini. And you're going to see it's going to do the opposite of what you think it's supposed to be doing. When you think you're adding a liquid, it's going to get more liquidy, but it does the opposite. It starts to seize, okay? And that's something not to panic over, just so that's why you're taking a cooking class, so you can know that, not to panic. Ooh, look how gorgeous, look how beautiful that looks. Remember, chicken shrinks, okay? So now that you know that it's going to thicken, you want to make sure that you dilute it again. So I'm going to take another one of my beautiful lemons, and you always want to roll it on the counter and cut it open. Rolling literally, and also at room temperature, literally gets the juices rolling, okay? So I'm going to put the lemon. I'm squeezing all the lemon juice. I'm just taking out the pits because they're very pitty ones. And mix this up together, and it's starting to loosen up. I'm going to add, and it starts to lighten up. I'm going to add a little bit more water. There we go, and I see the chicken being ready there. You do not need to be doing this with a whisk. You can also be doing it with a regular spatula. I have right here. And this chicken is totally ready. I'm going to pull this off. Here we go. We have to make, look how light it is. It got light, light, light. I'm going to take this chicken off, and we're going to put another piece on so you can see. Here we go. One piece, two pieces. See, it's nice and succulent, and I'm going to put another piece on so you can see. And you know, you don't need to see all of them. You get the hang of it. Always wash your hands. We're going to be adding a little bit of some salt and some pepper. There we go. And mix that up together. And we have this beautiful tahini sauce. You can also add a pinch of cumin if you want to. Cumin is, remember I told you the falafel spice? You can put a tiny bit into that if you like that. My kids like it. And this is going to be the sauce for the chicken. So,
Shawna, can you talk about, I see you're cooking in a cast iron skillet. So the question is, do you recommend cast iron for this kind of indoor
yes,
grilling? Is there anything around size?
This is a cast iron pan. I love it. But I also have like a non-stick one as well, which also works beautifully. So this one fits this tiny pan that I'm on right now. But you know, whatever works for you that you have. But yes, and it's great because you don't need to add extra oil. Remember, there's oil in the marinade as well. So you just want to make sure that you open some windows in your house because it does get a little foggy in here. So, and you just, you know, that's an important thing. Okay, so besides for that, I wanted to show you that an Israeli salad that goes with this as well. So Israeli salad, the typical thing is that it's chopped cucumbers, tomatoes, red onion. I just chopped them up. You didn't need to watch me doing all that kind of chopping. But the tomatoes here are outrageous. And I know in New Jersey, you guys have the most amazing tomatoes as well. And you're embarking on this great time of the harvest, which is fantastic. So this is my Israeli salad. And really what I season it with a little bit of some lemon juice, nothing fancy, and some delicious extra virgin olive oil that comes from the Galil. And I put a little bit of that onto it, and a little bit of pepper, because I love pepper, and some salt. If you don't have any lemons, you can put a little bit of red wine vinegar also, and that works also perfectly as well. So I have my chicken, which is, you see how beautifully seared it is. Can everybody see? Okay, and we have some Israeli salad, which is here. I'm just going to put some into the bowl so you can see. And this is like a really dinner that you can get together. We have some olives as well, and some, you know, tahini on top. Well, tahini I'm going to leave here because just in case people don't want the tahini. But I want to show it to you. What we have here, we have the chicken. I put some olives because I adore olives. The Israeli salad, it's juicy. We have the tahini here as well. And I want to show you the cookies. Remember that I let them cool. And let me get an oven mitt and a platter so I can show them all to you. Everything looks nice when you have some color. And this is a little festive American look. So you definitely do eat with your eyes. I'm a firm believer of that. So if you just want to take your cookies, and you can also make these in advance, guys, and you can freeze them and hope that your kids don't go in the freezer and eat them, because that's what my kids do and they don't tell me. So you just want to make sure that you keep that in mind. But they're wonderful. They're healthy-ish, and they're gluten-free and vegan. So they really can accommodate to, you know, anybody who's really, except for anybody with a nut allergy. That you definitely have to be careful with. There we go. And the beauty is the paper, you can reuse the paper, which is fantastic. So you see that we have the cookies over here, everybody. The chicken again, and some other things that I made for dinner tonight because we're celebrating here too. I made some roasted cauliflower that really I just cut up a cauliflower, put salt, pepper, and olive oil, and I'm going to drizzle the tahini on top and sprinkle with a little bit of za'atar spice, which is another mixture of spices. There's dinner for us. So a huge thank you for inviting me to celebrate your Independence Day. Get you guys ready. For all the Canadians out there, happy Canada Day. And I can't wait to see all of you here. And again, lioness women out there, you are my heroes. Really, when I see that women come together and what the power that we can do and do for our that are coming behind us, that we were gifted with fantastic community that we need to nourish and to strengthen and to continue our commitment. And I promise you, you'll meet the bestest of friends along the way. So happy Independence Day.
Wow, what a great presentation, Shawna. Kol hakavod. I'm Gail Bindleglass, and I have a lot in common with Shawna. I'm a home chef instructor, and I love Israel, and I'm a supporter of Federation. And in addition, I met Shawna on the Heart to Heart mission Shawna spoke about, where we had a fun experience at Tour Sinai. I'm pleased to share that Shawna really is so capable in the kitchen, and we just are thrilled to have her as one of our presenters. Shawna, you did a great job today. The program was entertaining and the recipes were great. Thank you for helping us celebrate America's birthday with us with Flavors of Israel. A heartfelt thank you for your generosity of time and expertise, and for your mom's idea of the Lion of Judah endowment, and enabling me to pay it forward by way of my endowment. The one thing that many of us are enjoying during this difficult pandemic period was the joy of experimenting in the kitchen. And Shawna, thank you for giving us more creative ideas to pursue. I hope you all have a safe and enjoyable 4th of July. And if you're interested in learning more about donor-advised funds or Federation endowments, please feel free to reach out. Shawna, you were fantastic. I felt like I was right there in Renata with you. You were wonderful.
I would love that.
Thank you so much.